Let me tell you something raw and real. You're not losing people. You're finally waking up to who they actually were. Cutting off toxic people isn't cruelty, it's self-respect. So ask yourself, why are you still entertaining someone who drains you, doubts you, and disrespects your light? We grow up thinking love is sacrifice, that loyalty means tolerating pain. But baby, loyalty without reciprocity is slavery. You wouldn't want to do it to your beast, but they would reap it out. You wouldn't want to do it to your beast, but they would reap it out. You wouldn't want to do it to your beast, but they would reap it out. We grow up thinking love is sacrifice. It's time to stop apologizing for cutting off energy that poisons your peace. They'll say they love you. They'll text you good morning and good night. They'll call you soulmate, bestie, or family. But watch closely, because love isn't proven by words. It's proven by patterns. A person can say, I care, but every time you're in pain, they vanish. A person can say, I'll always be there, and yet they're always too busy when you need them. That's the pattern. That's the truth. And truth isn't in how people talk. It's in how they treat you when they have nothing to gain from you. Let me give you an example. There's a girl, let's call her Anya. She has a friend. She's known for years. New job, glow up, confidence rising. That friend suddenly gets distant. No congratulations, no support. But the moment Anya has a breakdown or things go wrong, that same friend rushes back pretending to care. Why? Because some people don't love you. They love you being small. They love you being broken. Because that's when they feel bigger. If someone only shows up when you're weak and disappears when you're powerful, that's a pattern. A toxic one. Or take another story. A guy named Rohan dates a girl who keeps cheating on him emotionally. Every time she's caught, she says, I'm sorry, I'll change. I can't lose you. And Rohan believes it because he's in love with her words. But her actions, she's still texting other guys, still hiding things, still manipulating. She doesn't change. Because apologies mean nothing without changed behavior. And if the cycle keeps repeating, lie, guilt trip, forgive, repeat, that's not love. That's a trap disguised as comfort. Real love doesn't need to be begged for. Real friendship doesn't hurt repeatedly. Real support doesn't vanish in silence. And the sooner you stop falling for the I promise I'll do better and start watching whether they actually do better, the faster you'll reclaim your peace. Even in family this happens. A cousin, a sibling, a parent, they say they're proud of you, but every move you make, they criticize. They laugh at your dreams, compare you to others, and blame you for setting boundaries. You try to explain, to reason, to keep peace, but over and over the same pattern continues. Disrespect, denial, guilt. And still they smile at family functions like nothing ever happened. You have to remember, blood is DNA. Respect is earned. If their actions keep wounding your self-worth, you don't owe them a seat at your mental table. Think about your daily life. Maybe it's your workplace. Your boss says you're valuable but constantly overworks you without appreciation. Your co-worker says we're a team but throws you under the bus the minute something goes wrong. Words sound sweet, but patterns scream the truth. If someone keeps disrespecting you and you keep giving them another chance, you're not healing, you're tolerating poison. Stop clinging to what they say and start confronting what they do. Because here's the rawest truth. Toxic people don't need to say a word to show you who they are. They just keep repeating themselves until you finally pay attention. You want peace? Stop analyzing their excuses. Start analyzing the pattern. They cancel plans last minute, every time. They only call when they need something, every time. They ignore your boundaries and gaslight your pain, every time. That's not coincidence, that's character. Patterns are the universe's way of whispering, this is not for you. And the day you stop falling in love with potential and start respecting your peace, you'll see it. Some people weren't lying to you. You were just too loyal to see the pattern. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. Silence is power. Every time she raised her voice to fight for her worth, they labeled her aggressive. And one day she chose silence. Not because she gave up, but because she finally realized you don't have to scream for your value to be seen. You simply walk away. Quietly. Gracefully. And that silence will echo in their lives louder than any words you could have spoken. You see, when you argue with toxic people, you feed them. They twist your words, flip the narrative, and walk away acting like the victim. But when you go silent, no texts, no calls, no explanations, you leave them with nothing to distort. And that emptiness, it makes them feel powerless. Because here's the truth. People who thrive on control panic when they can't provoke a reaction. When you stop reacting, you take away their power. There's a guy named Arjun. His ex kept messaging him months after the breakup, not because she missed him, but because she missed the control she had. She'd send one emotional message and he'd respond. Every time. And every response reignited the drama. Until one day, he didn't reply. No anger, no explanation, just silence. And that silence said everything. You no longer have access to me. Your chaos is no longer welcome here. That's power. That's healing. Even in friendships, silence can set the tone. Tanya had a friend who constantly made backhanded compliments. You look great. For once. Your promotion must be luck. It was never direct hate, just enough to sting. And every time Tanya called it out, the friend gaslighted her. Relax, it was just a joke. So Tanya stopped arguing. She didn't announce the fallout. She just stopped showing up. Stopped replying. Stopped giving energy to someone who masked envy as humor. Silence was her closure. And that decision restored her confidence more than any confrontation could. You don't always have to respond to betrayal. You don't have to write paragraphs defending your heart to someone who already decided to break it. You don't have to explain your pain to someone committed to denying it. Sometimes, the most powerful statement is no statement at all. Even in the workplace, silence has weight. When your ideas are stolen in meetings, when your credit is taken, when your hard work is ignored. Don't fight for recognition in rooms full of egos. When your credit is taken, when your hard work is ignored, don't fight for recognition in rooms full of egos. Don't fight for recognition in rooms full of egos. Don't fight for recognition in rooms full of egos. Walk silently, build your own brand. Let your results speak louder than their politics ever could. Silence is not passive. Silence is the moment right before transformation. It's where you stop reacting and start reclaiming. Where you stop explaining and start evolving. Where you stop fighting battles beneath your worth. Sometimes the people around you don't deserve access to your words. Because when you speak, you give energy. And not everyone deserves your energy. You have to ask yourself, why am I explaining my soul to someone committed to misunderstanding it? Let your silence protect your boundaries. Let it guard your peace. Let it become the loudest message in the room. Because eventually, the same people who disrespected you will start calling. Why did she stop calling? Why did he stop caring? Why is there no reaction anymore? And that's the moment you've won. Not because you proved them wrong, but because you proved to yourself that you don't need to perform pain to be powerful. You don't need to scream truth for it to be valid. Sometimes, you just need to be silent and let your glow do the talking. You can love them with every piece of your heart and still walk away. You can wish them healing, pray for their growth, remember every laugh, and still know they are not your safe place anymore. Love is not always meant to be a life sentence. Sometimes it's a lesson, a chapter, a mirror. There's a woman named Ishita. She loved her partner for 5 long years. They built dreams together, had inside jokes, and made memories that felt like home. But over time, the love began to feel one-sided. She kept showing up while he kept checking out. She begged for communication. He gave silence. She asked for effort. He offered excuses. And one night, sitting alone in a house filled with memories and hollow conversations, she realized something powerful. I am breaking myself to keep us whole. And love should not cost me my soul. So she packed her bags, not because she started loving him, but because she finally started loving herself more. People think if you leave, you never truly loved. That's a lie. You can love someone deeply and still choose distance over disrespect. You can love someone and still say, this is not how I deserve to be treated. That's not betrayal. That's self-respect. Take another story, a guy named Neil. He grew up with a father who called him weak for expressing emotion. Every time Neil cried, his father mocked him. Every time Neil shared a dream, his father crushed it with reality checks. Still, Neil loved him. He didn't hate his father. He didn't seek revenge. He just stopped seeking validation from someone committed to misunderstanding him. He left. Emotionally, mentally, and eventually, physically. Not out of anger, but out of survival. Loving someone doesn't mean allowing them to destroy your peace. It doesn't mean accepting breadcrumb affection, gaslighting, manipulation, or cycles that never change. You can forgive them and still decide not to call them back. You can miss them and still never return. Because missing someone is a feeling, but going back to pain is a choice. Even in friendships, the ones you've had since school, since college, some friends don't grow with you. They start resenting your elevation. They gossip behind your back. They use humor to humiliate you. And when you confront them, they say, "Relax, you're being dramatic." But every time you leave a hangout, your energy feels drained, your confidence shaken. And then it hits you. I'm not the same person anymore. And that's okay. You can love the memories, be grateful for the past, and still close the chapter. You don't owe people forever access to you just because they once had it. The boldest act of self-love is knowing when to let go. Not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself in a way they never could. You don't need to prove your loyalty by staying in places that make you feel small. You don't have to break your own heart just to keep someone else from feeling pain. Some people are only meant to be part of your journey, not your destination. They were there to teach you strength, boundaries, clarity, not to be your forever. And you know what's beautiful? Walking away with grace. Just silent strength and a heart that says, "I love you, but I love me more now." That's not selfish, that's sacred. That's when healing begins. When you stop trying to fix what keeps breaking you and start choosing peace over chaos. You can still cherish the love and accept that it's not enough. Because sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is love someone and still. Setting boundaries is an art, a declaration of self-worth that says, "I deserve respect, but I will not build walls of bitterness." Too often people confuse boundaries with walls. Walls that trap, isolate, and imprison the heart. But a true queen sets boundaries, not walls. Boundaries are the elegant gates that protect her kingdom, not the harsh barriers that shut others out in fear. Imagine a woman named Nisha. She grew up in a family where saying no was seen as rude. She was taught to please everyone, to be the ever-smiling peacekeeper, the silent fixer. But over time, the constant giving without receiving drained her soul. She found herself exhausted, overwhelmed, and invisible in relationships where her needs were always last on the list. One day, tired and broken, she decided to change the narrative. She started saying no, not with anger, but with clarity and grace. Her friends initially resisted. "Why are you being so harsh?" Her family was confused. "Are you distancing yourself?" But Nisha wasn't building walls to keep them out. She was drawing lines to keep herself whole. She became the queen of her own life, choosing who entered her inner circle, on her and on her terms. Boundaries don't isolate, They protect the sacred space where love can flourish without fear or compromise. In the workplace, setting boundaries is even more crucial. Take Rohit's story. He was the go-to guy for everything. Late nights, extra tasks, emotional support. He gave endlessly, believing it would make him indispensable. But instead, he became invisible. His value taken for granted. He started noticing how the same people who demanded his time never respected his limits. One day, he said no to overtime without guilt. The reactions were mixed. Some tried to guilt trip him, others respected his stand. What changed? Rohit wasn't walling off his colleagues. He was drawing clear boundaries, so his energy remained sacred. He reclaimed his time, his peace, and his power. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about saying, I am enough, and so is my peace. Even in family dynamics, boundaries are revolutionary. Take Anjali's experience with a toxic sibling who constantly crossed lines, invading privacy, stirring drama, manipulating emotions. Anjali loved her sibling, but she refused to be a punching bag for their insecurities. Instead of shutting down or building cold walls, she communicated firmly, I will not tolerate disrespect. Her sibling resisted at first, but the boundary held. Anjali didn't close her heart. She opened it to respect, dignity, and healthier connection. This is what a queen does. She protects her peace without burning bridges. Boundaries are also a gift you give yourself to grow. When you say no to what drains you, you say yes to your dreams, your healing, your happiness. When you refuse to tolerate toxic patterns, you create space for genuine love and growth. When you stop bending to please, you stand tall in your truth. Boundaries are not walls built from pain and fear, but gates opened with wisdom and self-love. You are not a doormat. You are not an option. You are not here to absorb the chaos others create. You are here to shine, to thrive, to live fully. And that means knowing when to hold your line firmly. Not with anger, but with regal calm. Every time you protect your time, your heart, your mind, you are telling the world, I value myself enough to say no. I value my peace enough to walk away. I value my soul enough to protect it fiercely. And that kind of power does not come from walls that imprison. It comes from boundaries that empower. The queen's strength lies not in isolation, but in her ability to keep her kingdom safe, her people respected, and her spirit unbroken. She is fearless because she knows her worth. She is compassionate because she knows pain, but chooses love over bitterness. She is unstoppable because she sets boundaries that say, this far, no further. And in that, she creates a life of freedom, respect, and joy that no toxicity can touch. Stop explaining your worth to people who have already decided to misunderstand you. It's one of the hardest lessons life teaches us, yet one of the most liberating. There will always be those who twist your words, diminish your achievements, and refuse to see your true value, not because you are lacking, but because they are unwilling or incapable of recognizing your light. Imagine carrying the burden of convincing someone who has their mind made up, who is locked in their own judgments, no matter how much you try. You end up exhausting yourself, trying to prove a truth they never wanted to see. Take the story of Meera, a young artist whose passion and talent radiated from every brushstroke. She poured her soul into her paintings, only to face criticism from her closest circle. People who said, "Art won't pay your bills," or "Why don't you focus on something practical?" Meera spent years justifying her dreams, explaining why her work mattered, why her vision was unique. But with every explanation, she felt more drained, more unseen. The turning point came when she realized something powerful. I don't owe my dreams to anyone's approval. My worth is not a debate. She stopped defending her path and instead focused on creating fiercely, unapologetically. And as her confidence grew, so did the recognition. Not from those who doubted her, but from the world that finally saw her brilliance. There's also the story of Raj, who always struggled with his family's constant criticism about his career choices. He worked hard, but every success was met with skepticism or comparison to others. He found himself trapped in a cycle of justifications, explanations, and heartbreak. But eventually, he asked himself a question that changed everything. Why am I trying to prove my worth to people who refused to see it? Raj stopped explaining. He stopped trying to be understood by those who refused to understand. Instead, he channeled his energy into his work and self-growth. Slowly, the noise faded and his peace emerged. His worth was never less because they couldn't see it. It was their blindness, not his value, that was the problem. In friendships, this lesson is just as vital. Consider Sanya, who was always the one to explain her feelings, her boundaries, and her choices, to a friend who dismissed her as too sensitive or overreacting. Sanya said yoga was her savior's journey instead of her journey. What's more true, the noise silenced her out instead of her journey celebrated. Instead of her journey celebrated, or as it should be, whatsoever is worth safer than gold. Let me tell you a story. Here we go. Monsieur Sanya tried to clarify to mend misunderstandings, but every effort felt like a one-sided conversation. One day she realized that no matter how many times she explained, some people choose to misunderstand. She decided to stop explaining, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. She preserved her energy, kept her peace, and invested in friendships that saw her fully without needing explanations. You can be the most brilliant, kind, generous, and talented person, but not everyone will recognize that, and that's okay. Your worth isn't measured by someone else's limited perspective. When you stop trying to prove yourself to those committed to misunderstanding, you reclaim your power. You stop shrinking, bending, or breaking to fit into a mold that was never made for you. Imagine carrying a treasure chest full of diamonds, but some people only see the dirt on the outside. You can polish yourself endlessly, but if they refuse to look beyond the surface, their misunderstanding is not your problem. Your diamonds don't lose their sparkle because they remain unseen. Sometimes, the most courageous act is to say, I will not explain myself to anyone who has chosen to misunderstand me. My worth stands on its own. This doesn't mean you close your heart or stop communicating. It means you choose wisely where to invest your energy. It means you stop battling shadows and start walking in the light of your truth. In the end, you are not here to convince the world. You are here to live your truth boldly, unapologetically, and fully. Those who truly matter will see your worth without needing endless explanations. Those who don't, well, their blindness has no power over your light. So stop explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you and start living it unapologetically. Healing doesn't mean reconnecting. This is a truth many struggle to accept because our hearts are wired for connection, for closure, for making sense of pain by weaving the broken threads back together. But healing is not about opening old wounds to stitch up what was torn. Healing is about reclaiming your peace, your power, and your self-worth, without feeling the need to invite the past back into your present. It is the brave act of walking away, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, and choosing yourself over the pain that once defined you. Consider Aisha's story. She carried the weight of a friendship that once meant the world, but ended in betrayal. For years, she clung to the hope of reconciliation, telling herself that if only they could talk, understand, or apologize, the hurt would fade. She reached out time and again, only to be met with silence or indifference. The moment she realized that healing didn't mean reconnecting, everything shifted. She learned that her heart's peace was not dependent on their presence. She stopped seeking closure from someone who never intended to offer it and began creating closure within herself. Aisha found freedom not in reconnecting but in releasing, in loving herself enough to let go. In family relationships, this lesson hits hard. Take the example of Ravi, whose relationship with a toxic relative was a source of constant pain. Despite numerous attempts to mend the bond, the cycle of hurt repeated. Ravi's breakthrough came when he understood that healing was not about forcing a broken connection back to life. It was about honoring his own boundaries and protecting his mental health. He chose to heal by walking away, not as an act of bitterness, but as an act of self-love. Ravi's healing was a quiet, powerful reclaiming of his peace, independent of the other person's willingness to change. Romantic relationships can also illustrate this truth deeply. Nisha had loved someone fiercely but painfully. After the breakup, she wrestled with the urge to reconnect, to explain, to fix what was lost. But she realized that healing was not the same as reopening the door to a relationship that had caused her pain. Healing meant rebuilding her life with or without that person. It meant nurturing herself, forgiving herself, and finding joy in her own company. She embraced the idea that sometimes the greatest love you can give is the love you give yourself, by not going back to what hurt you. In the workplace, healing doesn't mean reconnecting with a toxic boss or colleague who undermined your confidence. It means stepping away from that environment, affirming your value, and choosing a path where respect and growth are possible. Healing is found in the freedom of walking out, not in the hope that toxic dynamics will suddenly change because you want them to. Healing is a journey inward, not backward. It's about building a fortress of self-respect and resilience. It's about understanding that you don't need validation or reconciliation from those who caused your pain. Your healing is not a favor to them. It's a gift to yourself. There is immense power in choosing to heal without reconnecting. It's a declaration. I am whole without you. I am enough without your presence. My peace does not depend on your approval or return. This is the anthem of the healed heart. A heart that knows its worth and refuses to be pulled back into cycles of pain. In life, you will meet people whose chapters need to close permanently. It's not about hatred or bitterness. It's about survival and thriving. Healing without reconnecting means breaking free from the illusion that everyone who hurt you deserves a second chance in your life. It means trusting that your soul knows what is best for you. It means honoring the lessons learned without reopening the wounds. It means walking forward with grace, strength, and clarity. You heal when you accept that some people are meant to be part of your past, not your future. You heal when you stop waiting for apologies that may never come. You heal when you reclaim your power and choose peace over pain, solitude over toxicity. Healing is the quiet courage to say, I am choosing myself today, tomorrow, and every day after that. And that choice is the most powerful act of love you will ever give, not just to yourself, but to the life you deserve. As we stand at the crossroads of our lives, facing the choice to hold on or to let go, remember this: letting go is not a sign of weakness, but the fiercest act of courage. It is the power to reclaim your life, your peace, your destiny. The truth is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot shine your brightest light if you are carrying the weight of toxic, who celebrate your victories, who see your worth without hesitation. This is not selfishness. It is self-respect. It is survival. And it is the foundation of your greatness. The greatest revolution you can ever embark on is the revolution within. When you decide to cut toxic ties, you are declaring to the universe, I am done settling for less than I deserve. You are sending a message to your soul, I am worthy of love, peace, and joy. There is a famous saying, often whispered by those who have walked through fire and emerged stronger. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce it. If you allow toxicity, you reinforce it. If you stop it, you set a new standard for your life. You become the architect of your own happiness. Imagine your life as a garden. You wouldn't let weeds choke the flowers, would you? You wouldn't let weeds choke the flowers, would you? You wouldn't let weeds choke the flowers, would you? You wouldn't let weeds choke the flowers, would you? You wouldn't let weeds choke the flower. Couldn't let poisonous plants take root in the soil where you want beauty to flourish. Your mind, heart, and spirit are that garden. The moment you stop nurturing toxic relationships is the moment you make space for new, vibrant, nourishing connections. You become the gardener of your own soul, planting seeds of hope, strength, and love. It takes a queen's heart to say enough, to stand tall amidst the storm and say, I will no longer tolerate anything less than what fuels my growth. This is the power of boundaries, the power of saying no, not to others, but to the part of your life that dims your light. Remember the words of Maya Angelou. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Do not waste your energy on second guessing or trying to change what is not meant to be changed. Trust yourself enough to walk away and trust life enough to know that better things await. Cutting toxic people out does not mean you carry hatred or bitterness in your heart. It means you carry wisdom and clarity. It means you carry self-love so fiercely that you refuse to allow anyone to steal your joy. It means you rise unapologetically and majestically like a phoenix from the ashes of your past. You become a beacon of hope for others who are still trapped, still fighting, still searching for the strength to say goodbye. Let this be your anthem. I am not here to fit into someone else's story. I am here to write my own. I am the hero of my journey, the queen of my destiny, and the guardian of my peace. When you embrace this truth, no one can diminish you. No one can drain your energy. No one can make you doubt your value. Life is too short to spend it bending for those who refuse to appreciate your worth. Life is too precious to give your heart to those who don't cherish it. Life is too precious to give your heart to those who... So stand firm, stand proud, and stand free. Release the chains that bind you to pain and walk boldly toward the life. Means you carry wisdom and clarity. It means you carry self-love so fiercely that you refuse to allow anyone to steal your joy. It means you rise unapologetically and majestically like a phoenix from the ashes of your past. You become a beacon of hope for others who are still trapped, still fighting, still searching for the strength to say goodbye. Let this be your anthem. I am not here to fit into someone else's story. I am here to write my own. I am the hero of my journey, the queen of my destiny, and the guardian of my peace. When you embrace this truth, no one can diminish you. No one can drain your energy. No one can make you doubt your value. Life is too short to spend it bending for those who refuse to appreciate your worth. Life is too precious to give your heart to those who don't cherish it. Life is too precious to give your heart to those who... So stand firm, stand proud, and stand free. Release the chains that bind you to pain and walk boldly toward the life.